Welcome to the Hodja on Architecture podcast. Vernacular Architecture Beyond Earth. Chapter 7 Form-Emergent Design in Space. Material gives architecture its substance, technique gives it motion, but form gives it presence, the moment when invisible processes become visible, when survival becomes style. This episode explores how form emerges, not as invention, but as consequence. The crystallization of climate, economy, culture, material, and technique into shape. Throughout history, form has never been arbitrary. Vernacular builders did not design from imagination, but from adaptation. The igloo, the courtyard, the pitched roof, the cave, all arose from pressure and response. Form was the residue of negotiation. On Mars, this logic returns in its purest state. Without historical precedent or inherited style, every geometry must be earned. A dome is not an aesthetic preference, but a structural necessity. A cluster is not an urban composition, but life support. The new vernacular will emerge where constraint meets intuition. The first principle of form on Mars is pressure. Architecture must resist external vacuum while maintaining internal equilibrium. The result is curvature: domes, cylinders, and shells. Nature teaches this language: the egg, the seed, the bubble, each enclosing life with minimal surface. Vernacular builders once followed the same rule. Beehive houses of Syria, Nubian vaults of Sudan, stone corbel domes in the Aegean. On Mars, these geometries will reappear, reborn as printed regolith shells. The logic is timeless: strength through continuity. The second principle is radiation. Exposure demands enclosure. Deep walls, shaded recesses, and buried chambers will replace the transparency of modern architecture. Windows will shrink, skylights will filter, yet form can transform protection into poetics. Subsurface courtyards carved within regolith mounds may reinterpret the inward beauty of desert architecture, light entering as a sacred beam, silence as a spatial quality. The architecture of defense will become the architecture of introspection. Form follows resource as much as function. On Earth, material scarcity sculpted vernacular silhouettes: thick earthen bases, tapering towers, clustered masses to share heat. On Mars, the resource economy will generate similar profiles. Printing limits, energy efficiency, and modular replication will favor compact volumes joined in organic networks. Colonies may grow like coral, each new cell attaching to the old, repeating proportions while adjusting orientation. The settlement becomes not a plan, but a growth pattern, a geometry of survival. At the intersection of technique and culture, form becomes communication. The shapes we inhabit express collective values even before we speak. A circle gathers, a line divides, a spiral moves. Vernacular forms on Earth encoded ritual: the ring of tents around a fire, the axial processional route to a temple, the courtyard aligning with cardinal directions. On Mars, new rituals will require new spatial syntax. Perhaps central halls will align with Earth's faint glow, or agricultural domes will orient toward seasonal sun angles. Form becomes memory, anchoring identity in geometry. Technology will not erase this meaning, it will intensify it. Parametric tools and robotic fabrication enable forms once impossible, but their success depends on restraint. The most advanced geometry will still obey the simplest vernacular law: respond honestly to need. Algorithms may optimize, but culture humanizes. If the machine produces countless shapes, the architect must choose the one that feels inevitable. The best forms on any planet look as though they could not have been otherwise. Form also carries emotion. Proportion is a psychological instrument. Vernacular architecture tuned proportion to comfort: low ceilings for intimacy, high halls for reverence, symmetry for calm. Martian habitats will require similar calibration. The pressure vessel dictates physical dimensions, but the eye demands harmony. Ratios derived from human scale, doorway to body, window to horizon, will preserve a sense of belonging. In a world without natural landscape, proportion becomes our landscape. Inside these enclosures, light will shape experience more than ornament ever could. Without atmosphere, sunlight arrives unfiltered, blinding, pure. Architecture must tame it. Bounced light, diffused reflections, and chromatic modulation will become the new ornamentation. The glow of filtered light through dust, the pulse of bioluminescent walls, the shimmer of ice ceilings, these effects will substitute for stained glass or carved relief. Light will be the living skin of the form. As settlements expand, form will express social order. The pattern of clusters and corridors will reflect hierarchy or equality, isolation or community. Vernacular towns embodied their economies: market squares for exchange, narrow lanes for shade, terraces for cultivation. On Mars, circulation networks will reveal values, whether modules prioritize privacy or cooperation, linear control or distributed participation. Form becomes governance rendered spatial. With time, forms will diversify. Early functional domes may evolve into hybrid typologies: half-buried atria, multi-level greenhouses, and floating observation decks. Each adaptation will mark a stage of cultural confidence. When survival stabilizes, expression begins. Just as Gothic cathedrals emerge from the mastery of stone, the Martian aesthetic will arise from mastery of dust. Out of the regolith's monotony, variation will bloom, geometry as celebration. At a deeper level, form is time made visible. Every technique leaves its trace, every repair its scar. Vernacular buildings grew organically, additions layered, paths worn, corners rounded by use. Their forms recorded life. In contrast, modern architecture often denies time, freezing design in a state of perfection. Mars offers a chance to restore duration to form. Buildings can be designed to expand, contract, or weather gracefully, showing the story of habitation. The patina of dust will not be cleaned away. It will become the colony's texture of history. Form, however, cannot be divorced from perception. The curved horizon of Mars, the red sky, the distant view of Earth all redefine spatial awareness. Architecture must converse with these cosmic scales while maintaining intimacy. A dome's curve might echo the planet's curvature. A window's frame might capture the tiny blue dot in the sky. Such gestures transform cosmic solitude into a sense of belonging. Form becomes the mediator between the infinite and the finite. As technology evolves, form will become adaptive. Structures may shift their configuration in response to radiation levels or population cycles. Shape memory alloys, inflatable membranes, and kinetic joints will allow habitats to breathe, close, or expand. This is not science fiction, but the following vernacular logic: responsive geometry shaped by necessity. Where Earth's vernacular responded to weather, Mars' vernacular will respond to space weather. Ultimately, form is the conversation between necessity and imagination. Every vault, dome, and passage is a sentence in architecture's planetary dialogue. The challenge is to design forms that express intelligence without arrogance, beauty born of performance, grace born of gravity. The Martian settlement that succeeds will be the one whose form feels inevitable yet humane, alien yet familiar. Form-emergent design reminds us that architecture's power lies not in creating shape, but in allowing it to appear. Vernacular builders did not impose, they revealed. On Mars, we must do the same. Listen to pressure, to material, to light, and let form emerge. In the next episode, we will turn to habitats and everyday life, where these forms are finally inhabited, personalized, and lived. The vernacular village has always been our geometry of survival. Now it becomes our form of belonging among the stars. This concludes Chapter 7 of Vernacular Architecture Beyond Earth, Form-Emergent Design in Space. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.